Okay, good now afternoon. So welcome back and into lesson 6 of vegetables, fruit, eggs and farinaceous. So we've just done our potatoes, so we've done our eggs, we've done some vegetables, we've done some potato, and now we're going to move on to rice. Okay, now rice is again in a multicultural society like we live in Australia, indeed West Australia, it's a staple for many cultures. And it crops up in lots of different dishes, restaurants and so on. Everything from simple steamed rice to our nasi goreng's, into a risotto, into paella and so on and so forth. So it's quite endless. Now today, so rice essentially comes in 3 main varieties: long grain, short grain and medium grain. That's basically what it is, okay? So your long grain will be your basmati, your jasmine rice, okay, which is your scented types of rices that we would use mainly in Asian cooking, okay? Then a short grain will be an arborio, alright? Or this is a kalasari, is that right, Chef?
Kalaspari. Yeah.
Kalaspari, which is short grain rice used mainly in paella. If you couldn't get that, you could actually use arborio in paella if you were doing it. And then we got wild rice. Now wild rice actually isn't a rice, it's actually a grain, alright? It's actually a grain, but it does take the appearance of a rice, and it's sold and marketed as a rice. And it's quite a fibre, because it's the grain, it's quite fibrous, so you wouldn't really eat a whole portion of wild rice on your own. So very often what you'll see chefs doing is adding it into some steamed rice as another texture, and indeed that bit of colour. It has a real nutty type of flavour because it is in fact a seed. Alright, so there are 4 different types of rice. Another rice that we don't have at the moment is called like a black sticky rice, and you'll get that throughout Asia. They use it quite a bit in dessert cooking. It takes quite a while to cook down and becomes very glutinous and sticky, and then you can add some sweetened coconut milk to it. It's actually quite pleasant, and it's got that real rich, like a beetroot colour to it. Now the whole thing with rice is about starch, okay? We spoke about the name farinaceous, okay? So farinaceous to include rice or has with flour, okay? So rice can be ground into a rice flour, and it's great for using for binding, okay? I can tell you that Hungry Jacks, for instance, use rice in binding their hamburgers. Alright, they actually grind in their manufacturing plant, they've got special grinders, and they grind rice and add it into their burger mix, and that absorbs all that moisture and all that fat. So it's good for that sort of thing, alright? So the important thing to know when you're cooking rice is how to cook it, okay? A lot of people make the mistake of not having the right ratios of water to rice, and therefore they get a big glutinous mess and so on. So it's important to understand what grain of rice you're using and how you're cooking it. Now today, we're going to do a classic Italian dish called risotto. Now, it's one of those dishes that comes in many guises, okay? From the classic Nonna's version all the way up to, some trendy chef versions, to the version you might make at home yourself. Some people will add cream and make it a real creamy, luscious type of risotto. Nothing wrong with that. Traditionally we wouldn't do that, we just use some butter and cheese, but still get that nice creamy texture to it, and that's what we're going to try and do today. This dish is also on your assessment, alright, so do pay extra attention to it. We're going to do it with some lemon and sage flavoured chicken, okay? So we'll make a start. A couple of key points. We're making chicken risottos, we're going to use a chicken stock. Now the chicken stock must be hot, so make sure you've got it on the stove. That's there now, just simmering waiting to go, okay? So we're going to add it gradually. So the difference between, there's a rice dish called pilaf, okay? Which is very similar, where it's cooked in stock. So the main difference between risotto and pilaf is cooked in stock in the oven, risotto is cooked in stock on top of the stove. Now the other difference is pilaf, all the stock is added in at the one time, and it's cooked with absorption method. Alright, so the rice absorbs that stock and it cooks in the oven, where risotto, it's also absorption, but we add it gradually as we go through, and you'll see that happening now. Alright, so I'm going to take some olive oil, a wee bit, and some butter. Again, it's quite a rich dish in terms of butter and so on. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to melt that. Now, it takes probably quite a while, a good 20 minutes or maybe even longer, depending on how low you're prepared to let it absorb. But in a restaurant situation, it's very difficult. You couldn't do this to order because it would take too long. Okay. So what we would do in a restaurant situation, we would cook it to half stage, which I'll point out to you when we're at that stage, and then we would remove and put it onto a flat tray so it cools quickly, and that will become mise en place. Okay. So then in a restaurant situation where an order will be called away, we would have that portion of that, and we would reconstitute it with some stock and take it to the next stage, and that would only take possibly 5 or 6 minutes, which would suit an a la carte situation. Okay, because you've got to be careful with the glutens in the flour, in the rice, that just becomes stodgy. That's what we're trying to avoid. Okay, oil and butter is melted. I'm going to add in my garlic.
So moderate heat again here, chef.
Moderate heat, low heat. We don't want to be burning or going too hot. So it's steady. The onion. Again, you could use shallow. Okay. I'm going to lower that down again. I don't want it too hot. Okay. Now I'm going to add my rice. Now I'm using arborio rice, which is a short grain rice, which we just explained. Okay. So it's a short grain rice. And the key here is that we don't add stock too quickly to it. So we're trying to get a coating of the oil and the butter onto the onions and onto rice. So it's, in theory, we want all the rice grains to be coated in the oil mix, the butter mix. All right. So as you can see there, you can see the shine. So there's all the rice has got a good coating of oil on it. Okay. So that's our first stage. So now I'm just going to add some hot stock to it. Okay. Just mixing that.
When they're making this one at home, I guess they just need to allow a bit of time, don't they?
Look, at home, perfect. You can cook it right from
slow and steady.
Slow and steady. Now we're going to serve it with some chicken. Okay. So that's just simmering away there. We just add stock slowly as we go along, a little bit at a time. Alright, you'll see that you can feel the starch is starting to move in it. Okay, so if you boil that, well, essentially what you're doing is the starch in the rice will explode. That's technically what happens to it, and that's when it becomes stodgy and starchy, and it's not nice. So you're cooking it nice and slowly, you're absorbing the stock bit by bit. If you can zoom in there, Chef, you'll see that stock just simmering, and you can nearly see it being absorbed. Okay.
So how would you know when to add the next layer of stock?
Well, when you'll feel that now starting to sort of take on the liquid.
So the liquid's disappearing.
Pretty much.
It? It's just being absorbed into that rice.
Yep, bit by bit. Just keep moving it. Alright, I'm just letting that simmer, okay? Meanwhile, got a chicken. Now this chicken has skin on it, okay? Now, I'm actually going to leave the skin on it. I'm going to cook it with the skin on it, but then I'll take it off for serving it, alright? That's quite a decent sized breast, but we'll cook it anyway and then we can... Okay, some pepper. Some salt. Now again, a bit of oil, some butter. Okay, so you can see the next lot of liquid went in, and you can see it's absorbed. Alright, so just nice and steady and steady. Now I didn't do it today, but normally I would personally add a bay leaf in there. I just like that little bit of add a little bit of flavor, background flavor that it gives. Okay, but not necessarily.
Is there any wine in this recipe? No wine, is there?
No wine in it.
Sometimes I know people do wine there.
Yeah, you could do. And if you're going to add wine, you would have added that probably at the start. Okay, when you sweat it off your onion, add the wine and reduce that down, and then start adding in your stock. Okay.
It's almost one of those dishes that everyone has their own version of, I reckon.
Absolutely. As I said, it's like from Nonna's version all the way through to I suppose your Gordon Ramsay celebrity restaurants and so on.
Well, the last 20 years, risotto's just been huge, hasn't it? In the
It's one
restaurant
of those
world.
dishes that can be, excuse my French, but bastardised. In other words, it's been taken for all sorts of variations of it. It's like it is obviously an Italian traditional staple. Okay, so I've got skin side down with the chicken. I want to try and get it. The reason I'm leaving the chicken, that skin on it, it'll keep it a bit moist. Okay, I don't want to get the skin, the flesh. Okay, so you can see what's happening there, yeah? You can see that nice. Okay. Well, I'm going to pop that in the oven now, so I'm going to leave it skin side on, okay? And that's just going to just cook nicely. Okay. Now I'll just keep adding my rice, my stock, should I say, to the rice, and then we'll finish it at the end with some nice butter and some Parmesan cheese. We'll have some spinach in it as well. Okay, so that's at the stage now where it's still quite chalky in the middle, is the term we would use. I would suggest that's about halfway cooked. Okay, so as I said, in a restaurant situation, we would take that off now. And we'll just pour out a flat tray like this, all right, and then go cold, and that'll be our mise en place, all right, and then from there, then we would finish it as an a la carte, okay. So if you would assume an a la carte situation, we would take it from this stage, all right, and finish the dish off, all right, okay. All right, so you have a look at that now again. You'll see I've been adding gradually the stock. The rice is just nicely absorbing all that stuff. Like I say, if I were to boil that, the rice would just become glutinous. You don't want that. Okay? Okay, now, when I taste that, you get it's still al dente, and I'll use the term chalky. It's a little bit chalky, and that's the way it should be. Okay? Now, in Italy, they will serve it quite al dente, probably not that our palate would recognise or appreciate. That's the way they do it. So here in Australia, we like to have it cooked a little bit more, but it will very quickly go from just right to just not right. Without, it can go mushy, and it's just a horror. If it's done right, you won't eat anything nicer. If it's not right, it's yuck. Okay, that there now is very close. So some pepper. Okay, we're very nearly there. Now at this point, I'm going to check my chicken. Now bear in mind, guys, this is a rice dish. It's not a chicken dish, so we're not overly concerned with the chicken. It's just basically to accompany the dish. All right, we want to get the rice correct. Don't be worried too much about your chicken. Okay, it's nearly there. Important that we get nice moist chicken, alright? Nearly there. Okay, so we're going to serve some baby spinach into the rice. We just put it in like that raw, and the heat of the rice will wilt it down. Okay, not do too much. So, at this point, you could add cream if you were going to go the cut road of adding cream, okay? Now we'll do a couple of things. It's cold, so we'll stop the cooking of the rice pretty much dead. Now that rice is going to continue to cook. why you got to move fairly quick with it.
So once you get it to that point where the texture's right and you feel it's got that little bit of tooth bite to it, you need to move quick. Get your finishing flavours in there or your seasonings, and then serve it pretty much straight away.
Okay. More salt. Now I've got some butter. Do you need butter? Do you have that?
All good. So I did actually have a sneaky taste of that before, and it was spot on, other than just obviously those finishing ingredients to go in.
Okay, so butter is very important. It looks like a lot, but let's just give that richness to it. Okay?
It actually does need that little bit of creamy finishing to it without using the cream, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll warm up my plate. Alright. Turning it over. That butter also will add a bit of flavour to it as well. Now, pull it to the side. Take my chicken. And with that chicken, gonna add some sage leaves in there. Take the skin off my chicken. Okay. You can see now that's nice and moist. Okay. Now I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese. Again, we'll get some nice richness. Okay. Now this day, it's a rice dish, it's not a chicken dish, okay? Now, I'll just let that sit there as you see, so I want the cheese to sort of melt through it, okay?
So again, with this, it's about having your mise en place workflow sorted.
Absolutely.
So you can just build it, not running around trying to get ingredients finished or whatever.
Absolutely.
So really, it's setting up your section that you have at TAFE pretty much at home, aren't you?
That's exactly right. So you need to have a little look at what you need beforehand. So you need a pan, we need another small pan for your chicken, you know, your knives and your spoons. Have everything ready, and then you won't be running around, okay? As you can see, there's a tiniest little bit of pinkness in that chicken, which is okay.
You let that sit there for a minute and that's gonski. You know, just beautiful, that heat. Looks very moist, that chef, beautiful.
That's because we cooked it with the skin on it, alright? And then just took it off. Okay, and remember, you don't need to put the whole pile on the plate, okay? I'm going to put some...
That in itself is a skill. I think being able to recognise that just because you have a pan full of it, you're just doing a portion.
That's right. Now we've got some beautiful lemon sagey.
I think I can see lunch there.
Absolutely.
Chef. Beautiful, looks good.
And then I'll just put that last
Oops.
bit of cheese on there. There you go, risotto. No cream. You could have added it if you wish. In this instance we didn't, and to have a look at that, does it need it? I don't think so. So, lemon chicken risotto, which is also on your assessment. Okay? Thank you.